Welcome to the ninth basic competency for trainers methodology level 1, which is to ensure a healthy and safe learning environment. So the first topic that we're going to discuss is actually identifying the occupational health and safety or OHS responsibilities. So there are different types of responsibilities. First, the responsibility of the managers, then the staff, then the students, then the visitors of the said institution. So for managers, of course, you should prepare, understand OHS risk management and how to carry out risk assessments. You should also understand university processes or any training institution processes for supporting staff welfare, including issue resolution and making reasonable adjustments. You should also plan to contribute to the activity plan, including workplace inspection schedule and develop appropriate local emergency arrangement. So these are the responsibilities po no, of the managers within the said institutions. Next is to check whether your risk assessments and standard operating procedures are relevant and up to date, of course. And you should also verify staff, students, and contractors are competent to carry out the work safely and are following the safety work practices. You should also now ensure that the staff, students, and contractors have received appropriate inductions and training, orientations as well. You should also ensure that all staff, students, as appropriate, and contractors are familiar with the emergency and evacuation procedures. You should do first coach staff and on safety matters and have safety conversations to promote a safe working practice and behaviors. Next is you should organize and participate in safety activities including training, risk assessments, and other workplace inspections. Next is you should intervene early to address staff HWS matters, including psychological health and workplace conflict. Next is assist injured or ill staff to return to work successfully and also inform staff, students, and contractors of occupational health and safety requirements and expectations. And review also incident reports, ensure staff welfare, and identify root causes of said problems. The staff naman, on the other hand, has also responsibilities. So other continuing or continuous staff daw yan, work experience and students as well as volunteers. So for the students naman, they should be supervise first the teaching and tutorial classes, practical classes, research work, organizing the placements, field work, and other studies. Study tours rather. For visitors naman, you should supervise or invite visitors, look after or control spaces used occupied by the said visitors. So the delegation of responsibilities, for practical reasons, syempre, managers may delegate some of their OHS responsibilities to other managers as well as supervisors. The manager remains fully responsible for the health and safety of their staff. The manager must ensure the person to whom responsibility has been delegated has the appropriate skills and authority to carry out the delegated duties. So examples of responsibilities daw, with the employees naman daw, of course, you should follow safety instructions in the workplace, keep their workspaces safe, take care when performing duties to ensure that they do not expose themselves, a colleague or a student, or any other person in a risk of harm, as well as report health and safety hazards in the workplace, participate in required training where protective clothing provided if applicable, read health and safety information provided at work, report any injury suffered by them in the workplace. So once you have identified your roles or your responsibilities within the institution, the next thing that we're gonna do is to identify hazards in the learning environment. So when identifying and addressing potential health and safety risks in educational environments, Hazards can broadly be broken down into two main categories: risk to employees and risk to trainees or pupils. Responsibilities and record keeping. So schools are responsible, of course, for the day-to-day health and safety of its students, whenever pupils are under the care of their school staff. Of course, in most cases, this includes both lesson and break times, as well as school trips and any other staff supervised extracurricular activities held on and off the immediate school premises. So these are the common queries. So first is the parents are welcome to request a copy of the school's health and safety policy, which all educational establishments should have, as well as the company handbook and the guide. Next is concerned parents are encouraged to contact the school directly and subsequently to bring unresolved matters to attention of local councils. Schools are also legally obliged to report all serious accidents, outbreaks of disease, or other dangerous incidents. Schools naman daw are not required by law to keep a maximum class size on health and safety grounds, although maximum basically iba yung ano no, iba yung sa Philippines. This is basically DepEd requirement is 7 meters by 9 meters na classroom. Two doors na swinging outside for obvious purposes of ano no, of the traffic and the accessibility or in circulation of the said classroom. And of course, you should provide minimum health standard na ano no, na kits like first aid kits, fire extinguishers, and others. Students naman daw, schools are required by law to abide the same standard indoor temperature guidelines for us all other workplaces. There is no specific health legislation limiting the weight the children in school can carry. So, wala namang legally binding na legislation daw na. So, you should always account to that. Siyempre, yung gamit din ng ating mga students. Next are hazard awareness and limitations. So, there are general areas of risk in school activities, of course. First is the practical science and the hands-on experiments whenever applicable to your said qualifications. It is agreed daw that existing health and safety legislation does not limit the said practical science and hands-on experiments, of course, but that excessive concern regarding legislation sometimes did. So, syempre, we are an institution pa rin, a training institution, not an actual workplace, and there is a certain standard, of course, na what may divide the workplace and a training institution. That is actually a debate for the sake of occupational health and safety because syempre, mas skilled na yung on the workplace kaysa yung mga nasa institution pa lang. Number 2 is design and technology workshops. Of course, when you do design and technology, or may it be construction, manufacturing, and what have you, you should always use personal protective equipment or PPEs. It should be considered, of course, when you are doing something that may be of risky or that may compromise the safety and security of your trainees. Appropriate training and guidance should be provided in the correct and safe use of PPE for both teachers and pupils. Of course, this is basically nandyan sa common competencies of each of our qualification. Syempre, on how to use properly use hand tools as well as how to properly use personal protective equipment. So next is how to maintain a safe school environment for children. First is syempre making an actionable checklist. Identifying the hazards, of course, this is best done by a walk-around activity with 2 or more staff members. You should first syempre identify the hazards that may it be present doon sa ating institution. So, meron siyang 4 hazard groups: physical, mental, chemical, and biological. Second is make specific assessment notes about who may be harmed and how. So, from identifying those hazards, you should make a assessment notes on how it will become a hazard, how it will harm people. Next is assess the different levels of the said risk. So meron tayong different categories of risk such as high, medium, or low risk, or it may be caution, warning, or danger depending on the standards set by the institution. Number 4 is to make and keep accurate detailed records of all the findings, of course. You should be able to make a report whenever incidents occur. Uh, you should always record preventive maintenance and scheduled maintenance of said equipments as well as housekeeping. Number 5 is incorporate frequent reviews. So regular scheduled reviews of previous health and safety risk assessment should be scheduled through the school year. Next is assessing the risk in the learning environment. So syempre, risk assessment is a professional document that identifies potential hazards on how to manage the risks. Part of healthy and safety compliance, a risk assessment is usually part of a wider strategy. Next is developing implementing actions to ensure the safety and welfare of learners and or candidates. So managing safety and health is an integral part of managing a business, may it be a training institution or otherwise. Business need to do a risk management to find out about the hazards and risk in their workplace and put measures in place to effectively control them and to ensure these hazards and risk cannot cause them harm to the workers. So first is main elements of the OHS management system. First is the policy. So occupational health and safety policy. The employer, in consultation with the workers and their representatives, should set out in writing an OHS policy to which they are committed and which is communicated, of course, to all workers. Siyempre, worker participation is recommended. Number 2 is organizing. So responsibility and accountability. The employer should have overall responsibility for the protection of their workers' safety and health, risk assessment as well as yung maintenance, of course. Next is competence and training. The necessary OHS competence include the education, work experience, training, or a combination of such. Requirements should be defined by the employer. Next is proper documentation of the OHS management system. According to the size and nature of the activity of the organization, an OHS management system documentation should be established and provided to all members of the said organization. Next is, of course, communication. Arrangements and procedures should be established and maintained for receiving, documenting, and responding appropriately to internal and external communications related to OHS, ensuring the internal communication of occupational health and safety information between relevant levels of functions of the organization, and ensuring that the concerns, ideas, and inputs of workers and their representatives on OHS matters are received. So third is planning and implementation of the said occupational health and safety policies. So initial review daw, the organization's existing OHS management system and relevant arrangements should be evaluated by an initial review first before you proceed rather with the system planning, development, and implementation. Yun naman po is yung purpose po niya. Yung purpose po niya naman is it should be created an OHS management system that supports as the minimum compliance with the national laws and regulations. The elements of the organization's OHS management system and the continually improvement in occupational health and safety technologies. So next is the objectives of OHS. So consistent with the OHS policy and based on the initial review and subsequent reviews, measurable OHS objectives should be established. Next, of course, is hazard prevention. Preventive and protective measures should be implemented in the following order of priority. Of course, is eliminating hazards and risks. Next is controlling hazards and risks. And next is minimize the hazard risk by designing a safe work system, as well as should implement measures to ensure its use and maintenance. Should always also promote a management of change. Emergency prevention, preparedness, and response. Arrangements should be established and maintained. These arrangements should identify the potential for accidents and emergency situations and address the prevention of OHS risks associated with them. So procurement naman daw po, procedure should be established and maintained to ensure that the compliance with the health and safety requirements of the organization is identified, evaluated, and incorporated into purchasing and leasing specifications. Fourth is the evaluation of the said occupational health and safety system, management system rather, performance monitoring and measurement. Of course, procedures to monitor, measure, and record OHS performance on a regular basis should be developed, established, and periodically reviewed. Investigation of work-related injuries, ill health, diseases, and incidents, and their impact on safety and health performance should also be addressed. And lastly, audit. Arrangements to conduct periodic audits are to be established in order to determine whether the OHS management system and its elements are in place, adequate, and effective in protecting and safety and health of workers in preventing the said incidents. Number 5 is controlling the risks. One of the most important aspects of the risk management is accurately identifying the potential hazards in the workplace. So next is evaluate the said risk, record the findings, and regularly review the risk assessment. So number 6 daw are accidents and investigations. Employers should monitor the effectiveness of the measures they put into place to control the risk in their workplace. Number 7 is multi-employer workplaces. Where employers share workplaces, they need to cooperate with each other to comply with their respective health and safety obligations. Deciding who can help employers with their duties. Employees should appoint someone competent to help them meet their safety and health duties, as well as consulting workers. Workplaces where workers are involved in taking decisions about safety and health are safer and healthier. And that's it for the ensure a safe and healthy environment in facilitating the training.